In the vast expanse of the galaxy, the ruling elites, the Galactic Tyrants, had enjoyed centuries of uncontested supremacy. From the icy reaches of the Trivar Dominion to the volcanic heart of the Kroth Empire, their grip on power was absolute, unyielding, and far-reaching. Across countless star systems, they crushed dissent with merciless precision, ensuring their dominance in a universe teeming with advanced alien races. But in the midst of this overwhelming tyranny, there was one small, insignificant planet, Earth. Humanity's homeworld had been little more than a blip on the galactic radar, a distant world teetering on the edge of survival in a hostile universe. For centuries, they had lived unaware of the cosmic forces that pulled the strings of the stars. They were viewed as primitive, insignificant, their technology no match for the alien behemoths that controlled the galaxy. That is, until they began to fight back. It all started with a single ship. A small, unremarkable vessel, the Phoenix, had been sent on a routine mission to explore an uncharted region of space. But what began as an ordinary scientific endeavor would quickly spiral into something much larger, something that would shake the very foundations of galactic power. The Phoenix encountered a distress signal from a mining colony on the outer rim of the galaxy, far from the protective influence of any major empire. The colony had been under attack by a ruthless band of alien raiders who had long evaded the law, their brutality leaving countless worlds in ruins. These raiders were rumored to be the mercenaries of the Kroth Empire, and their sudden aggression hinted at something far darker, an imminent threat to the galaxy itself. Captain Aaron D. Ward, a seasoned veteran of Earth's military, was tasked with leading the rescue mission. With her crew of diverse humans, many of whom had little to no combat experience, Ward faced an almost impossible situation. Yet, the crew of the Phoenix did not shrink in fear. They were determined, driven by the legacy of their ancestors, who had never backed down from a fight. They had come from a world that had once been torn apart by wars and destruction, only to rise from the ashes and rebuild. As the Phoenix entered the system, it was immediately clear that the situation was dire. The raiders, a brutal horde of reptilian mercenaries, had overwhelmed the small human colony. With their advanced weapons and tactical prowess, they had quickly secured the perimeter, making it nearly impossible for anyone to escape. Ward wasn't one to back down from a fight. The crew of the Phoenix was outgunned and outmatched, but they possessed something the invaders did not: ingenuity, adaptability, and a fierce will to survive. She ordered her crew to engage the raiders, not with brute force, but with a strategy rooted in human creativity. Using the environment to their advantage, they set traps, created diversions, and outsmarted their much larger and more advanced enemies. For every raider that fell, the humans showed their resilience, using their resourcefulness to turn the tide in their favor. The battle raged for hours, and the humans fought as if they had something to prove, something greater than themselves. In the end, against all odds, the Phoenix crew managed to liberate the colony. They had done the impossible. They had not only saved the helpless colonists but had struck a blow to the tyranny of the Galactic Raiders. Word of their victory spread like wildfire, reaching the ears of the Galactic Tyrants who had long dismissed humanity as a non-threat. But the battle for the galaxy was just beginning. The Tyrants knew that this victory, while significant, was just the beginning of something far more dangerous. The humans had tasted power. They had tasted victory. And the Galactic Tyrants feared that they would stop at nothing to challenge their rule. As the Phoenix returned to Earth, the crew was hailed as heroes. Yet, they understood that their success was no fluke. Humanity had just uncovered the power of unity, resilience, and strategy, traits that the galaxy's rulers had underestimated for far too long. The rise of humanity was inevitable. The Galactic Tyrants had just become aware of the threat that lay beyond their empires, an unstoppable force that would soon alter the balance of power across the stars. They had underestimated humanity's potential. And now, they would learn the true meaning of fear. The victory of the Phoenix crew sent shockwaves through the galaxy, resonating across the farthest reaches of space. The Galactic Tyrants, who had lived in peace for centuries, watching from their mighty thrones as alien civilizations bowed before them, began to feel the first stirrings of fear. A small, relatively primitive species had just thrown a wrench into their carefully constructed order, and they were not going to let it slide. Word of humanity's triumph on the Outer Rim spread quickly through the undercurrents of galactic politics. The miners who had been rescued from the Kroth mercenaries became powerful symbols of humanity's growing influence. They whispered in the shadows of galactic taverns, markets, and meeting halls, spreading tales of Earth's unexpected bravery. And it wasn't just the human colony that had been saved. News of their innovative tactics and fierce resistance spread to other colonies in the galaxy, many of which were struggling beneath the oppressive rule of the Galactic Tyrants. The Kroth Empire, in particular, took notice. For centuries, they had been one of the most feared forces in the galaxy, their military forces practically unmatched. But now, they were facing a threat they hadn't accounted for: humans. What was once thought to be a backwater world now posed a serious challenge to their long-held dominance. The Kroth rulers, furious over their defeat, ordered a new, more brutal campaign against the human colony, aiming to stamp out any sign of resistance before it could gain traction. Back on Earth, Captain Erin Ward and her crew returned as heroes. Their victory had garnered the attention of the highest levels of the United Earth government. While many were still skeptical about humanity's place in the grand scheme of the galaxy, there was no denying that the Phoenix's success proved one thing: humans had the potential to shape their destiny in a universe that had long overlooked them. Earth's political leaders convened in secret, debating how best to respond to the growing threat. Some advocated for caution, urging that humanity should focus on defensive strategies, avoiding direct confrontation with the galactic powers until they were stronger. Others, emboldened by the Phoenix's success, pushed for a more aggressive approach, advocating that humanity take the fight to the Galactic Tyrants. The political tension on Earth was palpable. It wasn't just a matter of defending the homeworld anymore, it was about asserting humanity's place in the galaxy. Humanity was no longer willing to be passive observers of their fate. Their rise was unstoppable, and the question was no longer if, but when, they would challenge the tyrants. Meanwhile, Captain Ward and her crew were preparing for their next mission. The Phoenix had become a symbol of human defiance, and Ward knew that if humanity was to rise, they would need to show the galaxy that they could not be ignored. The Kroth had attacked a defenseless colony, but Ward had seen firsthand how human creativity and unity could outsmart even the most formidable of enemies. They had proven that one small ship could make a difference, but Ward was determined to show the galaxy that humanity was capable of much more. She set out to assemble a coalition of like-minded humans and allied species, creating a force capable of taking on the tyrants head-on. Ward's vision was clear: unite humanity's military strength with the will of the oppressed galactic races and forge a new order, one that would no longer bow to tyranny. She understood the risks, but the stakes were higher than ever. As the preparations for the next phase of the rebellion began, tensions on the galactic stage escalated. The Kroth Empire was not alone in fearing humanity. Other galactic powers, including the Trivar Dominion and the Zinthri Collective, were watching closely. Some, like the Zinthri, sought to form alliances with humanity, intrigued by their potential. But others, particularly the Trivar, viewed humanity as an immediate threat to their centuries-old power. One thing was clear: humanity's rise had irrevocably changed the course of galactic history. The tyrants could no longer afford to ignore them. The balance of power was shifting, and the stakes were higher than ever. The next battle was on the horizon, and this time, humanity was determined to show the galaxy that they would not be silenced, not for any empire, not for any tyrant. They had become a force to be reckoned with, and the universe would soon learn that the human spirit could not be extinguished. The galaxy had watched in awe as humanity's victory over the Kroth Raiders had sparked a wave of rebellion that rippled across the farthest corners of space. But that was just the beginning. The Galactic Tyrants had underestimated the human spirit once, and now they were preparing to strike back with a vengeance. Captain Erin Ward, having secured the allegiance of several oppressed alien factions, was now ready to lead a combined force against the Kroth Empire. Her strategy was clear: they would strike where the tyrants least expected, hitting their supply lines, attacking their weak points, and undermining their authority. It was a daring plan, but Ward had no choice. If humanity was to stand a chance, they had to show the galaxy that they could not be easily silenced. The first mission was set: an assault on a Kroth fortress on the planet Shulgor, located at the heart of the Empire's war machine. The fortress was a key installation in the Kroth's control over the galaxy's eastern rim. If humanity and their allies could take it down, it would send a message to the rest of the Empire that they were no longer invincible. Ward's fleet, a mix of Earth's newly expanded military forces and the ships of their alien allies, entered the Shulgor system under the cover of darkness. The humans had learned much from their first victory. They had honed their tactics, refining their use of the terrain and their technological advantages. The Kroth had never faced an enemy like this before, one that combined brute force with unexpected ingenuity. The battle began with a surprise strike. The human ships, fast and maneuverable, darted in and out of the system, targeting the Kroth's communication arrays, disabling their radar systems. This sent the Kroth forces into chaos, unable to coordinate their defenses. Meanwhile, a small team of human soldiers, led by Captain Ward herself, made their way to the surface of Shulgor, using underground tunnels to avoid detection. As the battle raged in space above them, Ward's team infiltrated the fortress. The Kroth were caught off guard, their defenses insufficient to stop a group of determined humans armed with advanced, human-made weaponry. The fortress walls, once thought impenetrable, fell under the relentless assault of the humans' precision strikes. Every corner of the Kroth stronghold was turned into a battleground, with humanity's soldiers showing no fear, no hesitation, as they fought their way to the heart of the base. The Kroth retaliated fiercely, but they were no match for the humans' resolve. They fought with a raw intensity that was unmatched in the galaxy, every man, woman, and soldier fighting not just for survival, but for something greater, the future of their species. With each victory, the humans grew bolder, their confidence swelling with every strike against the Kroth. Captain Ward and her team eventually reached the Kroth warlord, the commander of the fortress. The final confrontation was brutal, but Ward's team had the upper hand. With a calculated, strategic strike, they overwhelmed the Kroth warlord's elite guards and brought the fortress to its knees. The Kroth were defeated, their supply lines severed, and their once unshakable dominance in the eastern rim shattered. The success of the mission sent shockwaves across the galaxy. The Galactic Tyrants could no longer deny the threat posed by humanity. Their once uncontested rule was being challenged in ways they had never anticipated. The humans, with their unyielding spirit and determination, had proven themselves a force to be reckoned with. No longer could they be ignored as an insignificant species. But the victory came at a cost. While the humans and their allies celebrated their hard-won triumph, the Kroth Empire was not one to take defeat lightly. In the wake of their loss, they began to rally their forces, vowing to crush humanity's rebellion once and for all. The galaxy's tyrants knew that they had to act quickly, or risk losing everything to the rising power of humanity. Captain Ward knew this would be a long and difficult fight. The humans had made their mark, but they had also made powerful enemies. The road ahead would be fraught with peril, but humanity had no intention of turning back. With each victory, they would grow stronger, and with each defeat, they would learn and adapt. They had become a symbol of resistance, a living, breathing testament to the power of the human spirit. As Ward gazed out at the stars, she knew that the rise of humanity was unstoppable. The Galactic Tyrants had underestimated them once, but they would not make that mistake again. And humanity would fight, not just for survival, but for the freedom of the galaxy itself. The victory at Shulgor had changed everything. The Kroth Empire, once a terrifying monolith of power, now faced an uprising that threatened to fracture its hold over the galaxy. Humanity's unexpected strength had ignited a spark among the oppressed races of the universe, and their message was clear: the age of the Galactic Tyrants was coming to an end. In the aftermath of the battle, Captain Erin Ward and her crew stood at the forefront of a new era. The success of their mission on Shulgor had not only dealt a crushing blow to the Kroth but had also demonstrated to the galaxy that humanity could rise to the challenge of galactic war. Their next step was critical. They needed to solidify their newfound alliances and rally the oppressed worlds under a single banner. The galaxy, despite its vastness, was home to many alien species that had suffered under the yoke of the Galactic Tyrants. From the proud and noble Zinthri to the quick-witted Valorians, these civilizations had long been forced to bow to the will of their oppressors. But now, with humanity's leadership, there was hope. It was time to unite, to forge an alliance strong enough to challenge the tyranny of the galactic empires. Captain Ward understood the importance of diplomacy. Her previous military success had earned humanity respect, but it was her ability to unite alien factions and work toward common goals that would secure their place as a powerful force in the galaxy. She and her team traveled to several key systems, meeting with leaders of the various oppressed races to discuss a formal alliance. The first stop was the Zinthari homeworld, a planet known for its technological advancements and strategic position near the core of the galaxy. The Zinthari were a race of highly intelligent, amphibious creatures who had been subjugated by the Trivar Dominion for centuries. Their technological prowess had once made them the envy of the galaxy, but now they were little more than a pawn in the Trivar's endless war machine. Captain Ward was met with skepticism by the Zinthari Council. They had seen empires rise and fall before, and they were cautious of placing their trust in a species so new to the galactic stage. But Ward's diplomatic skills, her understanding of their plight, and the victories humanity had already achieved worked in her favor. She made them see that their best chance for survival lay in standing together. They could no longer afford to let the Trivar dictate their future. The Zinthari agreed to join the alliance, providing their advanced technologies to humanity's growing forces. With the Zinthari by their side, the humans now had access to state-of-the-art weaponry, shields, and intelligence-gathering technologies that would give them an edge in the coming conflict. Next, Captain Ward traveled to the Valerian system, home to a race of fast, agile beings known for their unparalleled speed and reflexes. The Valorians had been under the thumb of the Kroth Empire for decades, their worlds ravaged by war and their people enslaved for labor. The Valerian leaders, while impressed by humanity's victories, were wary. They had lost their independence once and were hesitant to join another galactic power, even one with good intentions. But Ward made them an offer they could not refuse. Humanity, with its unique blend of resourcefulness and adaptability, had the ability to work alongside the Valorians, learning from their strengths and adapting their tactics. Together, they could create an unstoppable fighting force, one that could not only challenge the Kroth but also resist the might of the Trivar Dominion. The Valorians, seeing the promise in Ward's words, agreed to lend their speed and expertise to the cause. With the Zinthari's technology and the Valorians' agility, humanity was beginning to assemble an army that could face the galactic empires head-on. The final key to the alliance was the Zaltari, a mysterious race of telepathic beings who had long been neutral in galactic politics. The Zaltari had watched the rise of humanity from afar, and their decision to join the alliance would hinge on one factor: the humans' willingness to honor their most sacred principle, peace. The Zaltari had seen enough bloodshed in their time to know that war would never be the ultimate solution, but they also recognized that humanity, with its strong moral compass, was capable of bringing about a better future. With the promise of peace and mutual respect, the Zaltari pledged their telepathic abilities and their vast knowledge of galactic history to the cause. Their insights would prove invaluable, guiding humanity and their allies in the fight against the tyrants who had long ruled the stars. With these three powerful races now united with humanity, the alliance of the oppressed was born. It was a force to be reckoned with, one that would challenge the galactic tyrants and show them that their reign was over. But as Ward looked out over the assembly of alien leaders in the newly established command center aboard the Phoenix, she knew that the hard work was just beginning. The road to liberation would be long and filled with challenges, but humanity had shown the galaxy that they were not to be underestimated. The galactic tyrants would soon learn that the power of the oppressed, when united, could not be stopped. The alliance had been formed, and with it came a sense of unity and purpose that had long been absent in the galaxy. Humanity, the Zinthari, the Valorians, and the Zaltari had put aside their differences and united in their shared goal, the overthrow of the galactic tyrants. But the tyrants would not fall easily. The Kroth and the Trivar Dominion, aware of the growing coalition against them, began to take aggressive action. The Trivar, long accustomed to dominating the galaxy with their superior military might, launched a series of devastating raids on allied systems. The Kroth, humiliated by their defeat at Shulgor, turned their forces toward the Outer Rim, hoping to crush humanity and its allies before they could gain any more ground. the first true test of the Alliance's strength came when the Trivar launched a surprise attack on the Valerian homeworld, Zorval. The Valorians, swift and agile, had always been a formidable force in skirmishes, but facing a full-scale invasion by the Trivar was a challenge they had never anticipated. The Valerian fleets, though fast, lacked the heavy firepower needed to defend their homeworld from the overwhelming force the Trivar brought to bear. Captain Ward, always at the forefront of humanity's efforts, knew that the only way to win this war was to strike swiftly and decisively. With the Valerian fleets engaged in a desperate defense of their homeworld, humanity's forces, bolstered by the Zinthari's advanced technology and the Zaltari's psychic intelligence, launched a counteroffensive. The human ships, equipped with the latest Zinthari tech, had proven themselves on the battlefield time and time again. Now, with the Valorians providing speed and agility, and the Zaltari offering strategic guidance, the Alliance was ready for its first major strike against the Trivar. Under Captain Ward's leadership, the combined fleets launched a series of daring raids against the Trivar supply lines and military outposts in the region. The Trivar, caught off guard by the ferocity and coordination of the Alliance, found themselves on the defensive for the first time in centuries. The Valorians' lightning-fast raids, combined with human tactics and Zinthari firepower, had forced the Trivar to retreat and rethink their strategy. But it wasn't just the Trivar who felt the pressure. The Kroth, still stinging from their defeat at Shulgor, had begun to lose their grip on their outer territories. The humans, working alongside their allies, began to liberate Kroth-occupied systems, driving the invaders back and freeing planets that had long been under their control. The Kroth were disoriented, unable to keep up with the relentless speed and efficiency of their enemies. News of the Alliance's victory spread quickly, reaching the farthest corners of the galaxy. Oppressed worlds, once resigned to their fate, began to rise in revolt, inspired by the actions of the humans and their allies. The strength of the galaxy's oppressed races, once scattered and fragmented, was now united in a single cause. The rise of humanity had sparked a fire that could not be extinguished. But the tyrants were not yet ready to concede defeat. In their desperation, the Trivar and Kroth turned to their last resort, a secret weapon, one that could tip the scales in their favor and crush the Alliance before it could gain any more momentum. The weapon was called the Cinder Star, a massive superweapon capable of destroying entire star systems with a single shot. It was the Trivar's trump card, and they were willing to use it to annihilate the Alliance and restore their dominance. As the Alliance pushed forward, capturing key systems and liberating entire planets, Captain Ward received word of the Trivar's plans to activate the Cinder Star. It was an unprecedented threat, one that could destroy everything they had fought for. If the weapon was allowed to fire, the entire galaxy would be plunged into darkness, and the oppressive reign of the Galactic Tyrants would remain unchallenged. Ward knew that this was the moment of truth. The Alliance's forces had to move quickly, strike decisively, and destroy the Cinder Star before it could be activated. The fate of the galaxy, and the future of humanity, hung in the balance. Gathering the leaders of the Alliance, Ward devised a daring plan. It would require every ounce of bravery, ingenuity, and strength the Alliance could muster. The operation to destroy the Cinder Star would be the most dangerous mission they had ever undertaken. But failure was not an option. As the Alliance prepared for the final assault on the Trivar's fortress, Ward's thoughts turned to Earth, to the home they had all fought to protect. It was no longer just about survival, it was about securing a future for all the oppressed races of the galaxy, for humanity, and for the freedom of every species who had ever dreamed of a life free from tyranny. The war had reached its tipping point. The Alliance's next move would determine the fate of the galaxy, and humanity was ready to lead the charge. The Cinder Star loomed like a dark cloud on the horizon of the galaxy, a weapon capable of turning the tide of war in the Galactic Tyrants' favor. The Trivar Dominion had hidden it in a remote sector, protected by layers of defense and countless warships. This weapon, capable of annihilating entire star systems, was their final gamble. If the Cinder Star fired, the Alliance would be wiped out in an instant, their momentum crushed before it could truly ignite. Captain Erin Ward's mind raced as she stood before her allies in the War Council, eyes fixed on the holographic map of the Trivar fortress. "This is it," she said, her voice firm yet filled with the weight of the moment. "We either end the tyranny now, or we lose everything." The room fell silent. Every leader in the room, the Zinthari, the Valorians, the Zaltari, knew that this mission would decide the future of the galaxy. There was no room for error. Ward's plan was simple but daring: strike at the heart of the Trivar stronghold, disable the Cinder Star's core, and prevent it from firing. She had no illusions about the difficulty of the task. Facing the Trivar's full military might, their formidable defense systems, and the unknown dangers of the Cinder Star itself was a risk that none of them had ever faced. But humanity had faced impossible odds before. And they had always found a way to win. The Alliance's forces, composed of human warships, Valerian skirmishers, Zinthari heavy artillery, and Zaltari psychic operatives, set course for the Trivar fortress. Ward, leading the charge, gave one last order to her fleet: "We fight for the future of the galaxy. We fight for freedom." The battle erupted with brutal intensity as the Alliance's ships entered the sector, immediately under fire from Trivar defenses. The Cinder Star was surrounded by a formidable fleet, and it seemed as though victory was impossible. But humanity's resolve was like nothing the galaxy's tyrants had ever witnessed. The Valorian speed and agility allowed them to dodge enemy fire, striking fast and retreating before the Trivar could respond. The Zinthari's advanced weaponry tore through enemy shields with deadly precision, while the Zaltari used their psychic powers to disorient and disable Trivar vessels from within. Ward's flagship, the Phoenix, led the charge directly toward the fortress. She had calculated every move, planned every attack, but nothing could prepare her for the overwhelming force they now faced. Despite the chaos, she remained calm, her crew following her lead with unwavering loyalty. They were not just fighting for victory, they were fighting for the future of the galaxy and every oppressed race within it. In the midst of the battle, Ward received a transmission from the Zinthari commander. "Captain, we've located the Cinder Star's control center. It's protected by a shield, but we can breach it. We need your team to infiltrate and disable the core." Ward nodded, giving the order to deploy a specialized team. A small group of elite soldiers, including herself, would board a strike shuttle and infiltrate the Trivar fortress, cutting through enemy lines and making their way to the Cinder Star's heart. It was a suicide mission, but it was humanity's only chance. As the Phoenix and the rest of the fleet continued to engage the Trivar, Ward's team made their way through the battle, their shuttle dodging enemy fire as they entered the fortress's atmosphere. The shuttle's shields flared under the intense barrage, but it held. Inside, Ward's team remained focused, their mission clear: destroy the Cinder Star before it could fire. They landed in a darkened hangar, the air thick with tension. Ward led the charge, her rifle raised, as they fought their way through the Trivar stronghold. The fortress was a labyrinth, filled with traps and enemy soldiers, but humanity's soldiers had learned how to fight in ways the Trivar couldn't predict. They used their ingenuity, their resourcefulness, to adapt and overcome every obstacle in their path. Finally, they reached the control center. The Cinder Star, a massive structure of dark energy and raw power, loomed before them. It hummed with a malevolent energy, a weapon that could end the lives of billions in an instant. Ward felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders as she and her team breached the core's defenses, planting explosives to disable the system. But just as they were about to complete the mission, a Trivar warlord appeared, blocking their escape. The warlord's soldiers swarmed toward them, but Ward's team fought fiercely, holding their ground. The clock was ticking, and there was no time to waste. With a final, desperate push, Ward detonated the charges, sending a pulse of energy that disabled the Cinder Star's core and prevented it from firing. The fortress shuddered as the weapon went offline. The Trivar forces, now leaderless and in disarray, began to retreat. Humanity and its allies had succeeded. The Cinder Star was no more. As the Alliance's forces consolidated their victory, Ward stood among the wreckage of the Trivar fortress, breathing in the scent of victory. They had done it. The Galactic Tyrants were no longer untouchable. Humanity, once an insignificant species on the fringes of the galaxy, had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. But as the battle ended and the Alliance celebrated, Ward knew that the war was far from over. The Trivar and the Croth had been dealt a devastating blow, but other tyrants still lurked in the shadows, waiting to strike. The alliance would need to remain strong, united, and vigilant. The rise of humanity was unstoppable, but the road ahead would require every ounce of courage, strength, and resolve they had. The future of the galaxy depended on it. The Trivar were in disarray, their once mighty empire crumbling after the destruction of the Cinder Star. The Croth, though still a formidable force, had been forced to retreat, their lines stretched thin. The power of the Galactic Tyrants was beginning to wane, and across the galaxy, there was a palpable shift in the air: hope. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's oppressed races dared to dream of a future free from tyranny. Captain Aaron Ward stood on the observation deck of the Phoenix, gazing out at the battlefield below. The remnants of the Trivar fortress drifted in space, a silent testament to their defeat. The war was far from over, but humanity and its allies had proven something undeniable: they were no longer mere pawns in the galaxy's game, they were the players. The victory had been hard-won. The alliance, forged through struggle and sacrifice, had proven that united, they were a force like no other. And now, the question was not whether they could defeat the tyrants, but what would come next. What kind of galaxy would they build? Ward knew that the road ahead would not be easy. The victory had been a powerful message, but the fight for freedom, for lasting peace, would take time. There were still scattered remnants of the Trivar Dominion, and other empires would no doubt seek to fill the vacuum left by their fall. The Croth were regrouping, and there were rumors of other, more mysterious powers lurking in the depths of space. But humanity had learned to adapt, to overcome, and it would do so again. It was time to rebuild. As the Phoenix made its way to the newly liberated world of Zorval, Ward reflected on everything humanity had endured and accomplished. The war had tested their strength, their resilience, and their courage. But it had also forged something more: a new identity. No longer just survivors, humanity was now a beacon of hope and resistance across the stars. Their influence was spreading, and with it, their vision of a galaxy united against oppression. "Captain," a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Admiral Sovok, the Zinthari leader. His alien features were calm, but his eyes gleamed with pride. "The Valorians have sent word. They're ready to form a new council, a governing body for the galaxy. They want humanity to lead." Ward's heart skipped a beat. She had never imagined such a day would come. "Lead?" she asked, her voice betraying a mix of surprise and uncertainty. "We're still recovering from the war. There are countless worlds to rebuild. Are we truly ready to take on such a role?" Sovok nodded solemnly. "It is not just about leading. It's about ensuring the survival and prosperity of every race in the galaxy. We've seen the strength of humanity, Aaron. The way you unite, the way you fight not just for yourselves, but for others. The galaxy has never seen anything like it." Ward glanced out at the stars, feeling the weight of the future press down on her. There was so much to be done. The war had left its scars, but it had also given birth to a new hope. Humanity had shown that they could not only survive, but thrive in the face of the galaxy's greatest challenges. And now, they had an opportunity to shape the future. "We will lead," she said, her voice firm. "Not as conquerors, but as stewards of peace. This galaxy will not fall into the hands of tyrants again. We will build something better. Together." Sovok smiled, his approval clear. "That is why we believe in you, Captain Ward. Humanity is the galaxy's greatest hope." Ward's thoughts turned back to Earth, to the homeworld that had given birth to this incredible species. Earth had endured so much, and yet, it had been the very heart of humanity's strength. She knew that Earth's legacy would not just be about survival, it would be about creating a future for all. The new council would be a coalition, not a monarchy, and humanity would lead not through dominance, but through the values they held dear: unity, resilience, and hope. As the Phoenix set course for the heart of the galaxy, Ward knew that this was only the beginning. The war might be over, but the journey had just begun. There would be new challenges, new enemies, and new trials to face. But humanity had already proven that they were capable of more than anyone had ever expected. In the days that followed, the Council was formed, representatives from every free race in the galaxy, working together to ensure peace, security, and prosperity for all. The tyrants had fallen, but in their place, a new order was rising. One built on trust, cooperation, and the shared goal of a galaxy free from oppression. Humanity had risen from the ashes, and now, it would lead the galaxy into a new era, a future where strength was measured not by military might, but by the power of unity and the determination to protect the weak. The unstoppable rise of humanity was not just a victory, it was a promise. The age of tyranny was over, and a new dawn had come.